But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the house barrage, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Be kind to the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, banking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply and
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise. And just as I was looking around to see what kind of bullshit we could look at today, there's a group on Facebook that is dedicated to people who like to basically ship Garrick and Dr. Bashir from Deep Space Nine. And I saw this meme. And the meme was pointing to a video that just came out from a chud I had not previously heard of. And it looks very promising. So I'm thinking we're going to do that one. But first, how's everybody doing, chat? Finally realized why I'm sneezing so much. I've been forgetting to use my anti-allergy 24-hour nasal spray, and so now just everything is making me sneeze that would make me sneeze normally. So, hopefully, that won't be happening for the next hour and a half. But first, I got this in my YouTube Rex, and I really can't wait to see it. It's a very short one. It's Yogi Bear. No, it's Bernie Sanders. He's going to tell us that there's a realistic path to remove big money from politics, and we all know what that is, Chad, I'm sure. I mean, it's called communism. You have to remove big money from the economy, too, and then everything's cool. Hey, Riveroon, how you doing?
We said, look, I'm called a far left guy.
Yeah, by people who just don't even acknowledge how far the left actually goes.
Right? Trump has decided that Kamala Harris is a communist.
I mean, the Republicans called fucking Obama a communist. They're just calling everybody that. It doesn't fucking mean anything. And actually, one of the fun things to do to, like, chuds online, when you see in a thread somebody talking about, oh, she's a communist and all this stuff, is to just sort of go in and say, no, she isn't. I'm a communist and I fucking hate her. It just confuses the shit out of them.
Totally insane. So we asked the American people a lot of simple questions about some of the major issues facing this country. Republicans, Democrats, Independents. So we said, do you think that the wealthy and large corporations should pay more in taxes?
I mean, and yes, the polls always say yes.
Shock of all shocks. Over 70% of the American people say yes, including a majority of Republicans.
I mean, this question gets asked in the polls pretty regularly, it's worth noting. And, yeah, Bernie Blender's good. Like it. I mean, and it is always a large majority of the population think rich people and corporations ought to be paying way more tax than they actually do.
Should we be surprised? No. All right. Question. Should we raise Social Security benefits by lifting the cap on taxable income and extend life by 75 years? In other words, asking the wealthy to contribute.
Wait, extend the life by 75 years? What does he mean by that? I mean, okay, that must make more sense. He must have meant to say something different, because, I mean, he's not talking about increasing average life expectancy by 75 years.
To be more into Social Security. Over 70% of the people say yes.
No shit. I mean, this is true. I mean, what he's saying here is very true. And the thing to know is it's not a new thing either. You go through the polls, you go back like decades, and you will find these and similar answers like this to these and similar questions.
Should we raise the minimum wage to a living wage? American people overwhelmingly say yes. Should we expand Medicare? Right now, Medicare is a good program. It doesn't cover dental, hearing, and vision. Should we expand it over 70%? In all these instances, a majority of Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, all very true. I mean, I'm still waiting for him to... This is a 2-minute video. And we're 1 minute and 16 seconds into it. And I'm still waiting to hear the realistic path to remove big money from politics, which I'm guessing he's not going to say communism, although that is the realistic path to do it. It's the only realistic path, because as long as rich people own the economy, it doesn't matter what the campaign finance laws are.
So your question, I think, is, if the American people feel that way, why, A, haven't we done it? Why haven't they been implemented? It's funny. The insurance companies don't like the idea. The rich don't like the idea of paying more in taxes. The insurance companies don't like the idea of expanding Medicare.
I mean, completely right here.
Is there a realistic path for my generation to remove money from politics?
Okay, and he's got, it's 1 minute 38 seconds out of 2 minutes 14 seconds.
Is this
goddamn right there is?
You think so?
Yeah. Money has always played a role in politics, but it was greatly accentuated by this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision.
It's so weird that, I mean, Citizens United was not good, but it also did not fundamentally change anything. The decision, I mean, if we're going to make this about Supreme Court decisions, the one that actually opened the floodgates already was in the 1970s, 76 I think it was, and it was Buckley and Vallejo, where the Supreme Court ruled that giving money to politicians constitutes speech, and therefore the First Amendment limited the amount of regulation you could do on campaign financing. It was a disastrous decision, and Citizens United just took that one step further.
So we need legislation to get rid of Citizens United.
Which would, I mean, since Citizens United actually relies on the First Amendment, it would actually require a constitutional amendment, which is virtually impossible.
And to move to public funding of elections. If you do that, there will no more be super PACs. Billionaires will not be able to play the role they're playing right now. I think
this is bullshit. I mean, there are plenty of countries that have way more sensible, stricter campaign financing rules than the U.S. Like, pretty much every single industrialized country, practically, has more rules about how much money you can just sort of donate to politicians and political parties and entities that are campaigning for them than the U.S. And yet you get basically the same outcomes in those places for a very simple reason. Because as long as capitalists own the economy, they don't need to pay off the government because they got all sorts of other ways of doing it. It's called a capital strike. If they decide that, a country does not look like a good investment decision because they're spending a lot more money on the working class, they're requiring rich people to pay tax, those sorts of things, they can just stop investing in that place. They can take their capital out of it. They can, shut down businesses. They, you put in price controls, they can shift stuff to the black market. It's, if you look at Chile under Allende, or some of the stuff the U.S. has been doing in Venezuela since Chavez was elected in '98, and it has never stopped. And what the ruling class in both places have been doing, you can see it really does not matter all that much. It takes away one of the most brazen forms of money influencing politics, but it leaves plenty of options, because capital flight is still a possibility. Because, there are entire strategies for bringing down governments, for rich people bringing down governments, that are based on essentially, you boycott the economy, you remove investment, you cut jobs, move your money to someplace else, or you just park it someplace and you don't do anything with it for a few years, and the economy goes to shit, unless and then you invest heavily in propaganda to get people to blame the government for it. And this has actually been done quite a few places. It is a threat that you see quite often, and campaign finance reform does not actually change that. The only way you're going to change that is if, this handful of pricks cease to own everything that humanity needs to survive.
Yes, not a radical idea. This exists in many other countries around the world.
Yeah, and it still does not change the fact that you get very much similar outcomes. Yeah. And, of course, and the wild thing about this, apart from just the fact that it wouldn't really achieve the goal there, so if you actually look, you will also find lots of people want to get money out of politics. That question gets asked in polls a fair bit, and people are kind of sick of rich people buying off politicians, it turns out. They're not really fans of it. And nothing happens. And why does nothing happen? Because rich people really kind of like being able to just legally buy off politicians. And so politicians are going to service them before they give a shit about their voters. But, okay, has anyone heard... This is a chud I'd never heard of before. By the name of Jon del Arroz. John of the Rice. And his thing is, he's a chud, and he gets angry about pop culture. In this case, he's angry because apparently he's the last person to find out that that there was sexual tension between Bashir and Garak on Deep Space Nine. This is called Star Trek Disaster! As Lower Decks turns Dr. Julian Bashir and Elam Garak gay. And it's especially hilarious.
Star Trek has fallen.
It's especially hilarious when you consider how actually the actor, what was his name? Andrew Robinson, who played Garak, has actually said in interviews that he was playing him as camp as possible. He was specifically, deliberately giving gay at every opportunity.
This is absolutely unbelievable, as the shippers have really taken over this beloved property and absolutely destroyed it. Lower Decks is a travesty at this point. It can't even be defended.
This is... his whole thing, if you look at his channel, I've never watched Lower Decks, but I'm thinking I should. I'm thinking I might like it. His thing is that he gets angry that there are, minorities in pop culture. He's one of those. He's a quartering.
Turned Julian Bashir and Elam Garak gay in the penultimate episode of Lower Decks. And Lower Decks has been pushing just this total woke agenda this entire time. It's
Yeah, wow, it's so weird that Star Trek would be pushing a woke agenda. I mean, that Star Trek has never been about woke. He's been around for a bit, it seems. He's fairly large. I just had never personally heard of him.
It's been insufferable to watch, especially the last like 2 or 3 seasons. It just seems to get worse. I actually did think it was kind of cute the first couple of episodes, but man, they went so far into this nonsense. It's really, really sad.
It's really sad when Bashir and Garak fall in love and stuff. That's terrible. Yeah, no shit.
That's why the show's getting canceled. I mean, nobody wants this crap out of Star Trek. And
you just wait. He started out by saying the shippers have taken over. In other words, he's aware that huge numbers of people have been for a long time looking at the Garak Bashir dynamic. Hello, Hail Satine, by the way. And saying, yeah, obviously they just need to bloody well get it on because just look at how they're always looking at each other. It's all right there. So clearly there were people who wanted this. And now he's saying they're getting canceled because nobody wanted this. This is the fundamental contradiction of right-wing pop culture commentary.
Too much. We've seen it over and over and over again. This is like the final straw because it kind of ruins Deep Space Nine. So
really?
Hit the like and subscribe button as we.
It really ruins Deep Space Nine if two characters who always looked like they had a thing for each other have a thing for each other.
Talk about all things science fiction and fantasy here. I am a big fan of Star Trek. At least I used to be. And I'm so deep.
You're a big fan of Star Trek, or you used to be, but you think it's a new thing that Star Trek is woke?
Dude, I read all the like novel verse stuff back in the day. Let me know if you've read those because I think they're awesome. That actually like continued.
Like, did you read the Garak novel written by the actor who plays Garak, which also is full of exactly this? And the book on tape, if you're not familiar with it, the book on tape is also read by Andrew Robinson, who plays Garak. And, I mean, it is beautifully done. It is a great book. It is, if you like Deep Space Nine stuff, if you like Garak, totally read it.
Space Nine and the like. It didn't have gay Garak or Bashir in it. And so I'm writing my own books. I've got a bunch of science fiction, and I would love to connect with you. This is my newsletter, and...
Okay, no thank you.
I'm space exploration right now, and I want to make sure that you're on the list right here so that when this book comes out, you can read it. It does honor to Star Trek like nothing you've seen. I think I have written a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Oh, wait, it does honor to Star Trek like nothing you've seen. So, like, he's talking to people who've clearly seen Star Trek. So what he's saying is, he's better at Star Trek than all of Star Trek?
2 books in out of the 3, and I'm going to start dropping them next year so that all 3 come out within the space of a month of each other. So grab this, you get 3 books for doing so. So if you're a reader, this is a wonderful spot. A fantasy book.
Yeah, let's wow, how long are we going to be doing this? Let's skip that. Skip. There. A giant sellout fraud Young Turks showdown with David Rubin. That sounds like it could be good. This is a short one. This is only 9 minutes. I bet we can get that in there.
Like, you can tell.
Oh, and if we're talking about our own little creative endeavors, you know the Luigi Mangione perp walk? Everybody see the footage from that? Like, which was clearly choreographed to, like, from A to Z by people who apparently have never seen a movie? Because they're speaking a very clear visual language. And that visual language does not make them the goodies. Like, if you see, like, that fucking perp walk, especially with that dickhead Eric Adams, who's just sort of standing around there, completely superfluous to requirements, like a fucking G-spot in an Andrew Tate fan club meeting. It just looks like something straight out of Andor. And I was just watching that and looking at the footage, and I decided to composed the theme music for the perp walk, the Imperial perp walk theme, and it's not quite ready. Tomorrow night I'm hoping to get it like all ready, and then tomorrow night I may just happen to debut it.
I could talk about it for hours, but I'm going to talk about Star Trek.
Bonsoir.
I know that's why you're here. So thank you. Smash that like and subscribe button. All right. I appreciate you. So Lower Decks has gone where bad fiction has gone before by turning beloved Deep Space Nine characters Julian Bashir.
Wait. They turn... Okay, whoever's done this is... like, have they not watched it? They think that it was Star Trek Discovery that first introduced sort of trans-related story elements into the Trill? Like, the very first episode with the Trill in it introduced those story elements. Because the first Trill we get... his humanoid dies, and the symbiont has to go into Riker, and Beverly Crusher falls for him in Riker's form, and then they finally get the Trill that the symbiont is going to go into, and it's a woman. Like, literally, from the very moment the Trill, like, who is this person?
And Elam Garrett gay in the penultimate episode. And I say penultimate episode because it is ending, thank God. One more episode.
He loves Star Trek so much he's glad this is ending.
After this, and this is what they did right before ending, just to like, I guess, honestly, I really think there's two factors involved here. One, we got the shipping culture from these strange women who have taken over everything, and
strange women who've taken over everything. Tag yourself.
Turned everything into some gross feminist porn, because if you look at the way that they write,
gross. Okay, so Julian Bashir and Elam Garrett getting shipped is feminist porn.
Write YA books and they write fantasy in the book publishing industry. This is all they do. They ship people. They turn it into gay porn. And it's because the women's erotic fiction is all like this. And
chat. Maybe I've been looking at the wrong women's erotic fiction. But is most women's erotic fiction, I would imagine, the relationships that one focuses on have at least one woman in them. I would imagine, like, I mean, in the women's erotic fiction that I read, it's usually at least two women. But I would imagine even in other forms of it, there's at least... So it's women's erotic fiction to watch Julian Bashir fuck a Cardassian, apparently. That's... Yeah, that...
And it's very, very much a rabbit hole that's crazy to go down.
It's a rabbit hole that we were invited to go down by Andrew Robinson's whole fucking performance.
And I don't suggest you do so. You tell
oh, well, because he gets paid to pretend he's angry that there are minorities in media. He's also obsessed with people being black in TV shows. And being women in TV shows. I mean, it's his whole thing.
This is one of those people. I actually posted to X earlier today about this. And
oh, see, you can tell. He calls Twitter X.
I found the writer of Lower Decks and what was going on with this Bashir thing.
Oh, shit, it's a woman. Those are the people who really love watching, men get it on with each other. It's women.
Sure enough, she's a strange woman.
Like, okay, I'm not sure where you get strange. She's just sort of smiling into a microphone.
And look at how giddy she is about her, like, a little Garrick and Bashir porn.
Oh, well, we don't... it's a fucking still freeze frame from an interview.
This is exactly what they do. So, Lower Decks is going to get
This
canceled.
is what they do.
The writing's been on the wall for Star Trek for a long, long time. Here's self-discovery knows no bounds in space.
Wow. He's also mad that there are trans people in pop culture.
Transgender Awareness Week. And this is their Discovery character, blue hair, short, like. I mean,
Like, they had a fucking they had a fucking trans allegory. I mean, not just the Trill, like, all the way back in TNG. There was an episode where there's this world of non-binary people. Non-binariness is normative. And one of the people from that world who goes to the Enterprise to work on some stuff, I forget what, turns out that she's not so much non-binary, she's actually female, which is considered a deviant identity to have in this world. And she gets subjected to conversion therapy and all this shit. Like, that was back in the early 90s. But yeah, this is it's just the woke, it's the strange women taking over everything.
Make this stuff up. They, them, who lectures everybody about pronouns in Star Trek Discovery. And by the way, Star Trek Discoveries, once they started introducing this character, ratings cratered. Like, Star Trek fans don't want this. As much as they, like, hail them.
Wait, which is it? Because you were just saying that Star Trek fans did want fucking Julian Bashir and Elam Garrick to get it on at long last. So you're saying that Star Trek fans wanted that, and you're pissed off at them for wanting that, but they didn't want this? Why?
Themselves as like a woke group. They're really gatekeeping like the regular audience out for like this very, very niche group at this point. And it is killing their shows. I mean, Discovery's gone. They wanted that to go 7 seasons. It didn't. This is gone after 5. And they call these 5 seasons, but there's 10 episodes. I mean, it's really like 2 seasons worth of content in old days. They gave it a chance to find an audience and didn't, because they keep going.
Wait, okay, so is it they don't have an audience? Or is it that the audience wanted this thing that you're angry about? Like, you gotta commit to one. Either this is like shipping culture gone horribly wrong, the strange women taking over everything. Yeah, the character looks lovely.
Since Lower Decks has done this, they've got a strong female lead character who's, of course, black and shiny and a Mary Sue and
Yeah, see, because he's also angry that there is a strong female lead character and that she's black.
And everybody, just like Discovery, they did this exact same thing, except this one's kind of funny and quirky, except for his nod.
Yeah. Wait. So apparently it's woke when your leading character also has a personality.
Of course, they turned her into a lesbian. I think it was in season 2 or season 3 with this Andorian chick right here. They did this whole like cringy.
Wait, they turned her into one. So the idea is that this was not something that might have already being set up, for fuck's sake.
And then they started it this week. So this week, interestingly enough, I pointed out in my article also that last week...
Oh, he's looking at his own fucking article. No wonder the article is shit.
Feature the main characters. They did an episode called Upper Decks, which was, of course, homaging the Lower Decks Next Generation episode, but in reverse. And they had all the Upper Decks people and not the main characters. This is 2 episodes before ending your show. And then, the episode before ending your show, they still didn't have the main characters. They had these alternate universe people. This is Curzon Dax and T'Pol, and Harry Kim was in this, and like they're chasing down these fissures.
So there's a crossover in a mirror universe. Like, this is classic Star Trek shit.
Reality.
And this isn't Caleb Maupin. This is a guy called Jon del Arroz. His thing is he just gets mad about there being minorities in pop culture.
There's a multiverse problem going on. And
I will type it here. Yes, this is a new guy. I mean, he seems to be sort of a quartering knockoff at Jeremy Hamblin.
Made comments on the multiverse, like the characters actually
Jeremy Namblin.
How exhausting multiverses are. Which
Oh, yeah, okay, wait. Okay, so he doesn't like wokeness. He doesn't seem to like strong female characters, which, like, Star Trek has had from the very fucking beginning in the 1960s. And he doesn't like multiverses. Like, is there, like, are you sure you actually are a Star Trek fan at this point? Because all that shit has been part of Star Trek for, like 60 years now, actually. I mean, the multiverse, the first mirror, we had multiple multiverses in the original series.
It's obnoxious. And it's been done too much at this point. It's not fun. But it wasn't fun in this anyway, despite the fact that they
because there were black people in it.
But then it gets into this, and they have this whole deal with Bashir and Garrick, and so this has been something fanfic women.
It should be noted that Julian Bashir was in a happy heterosexual relationship with Ezri Dax. Okay, so he doesn't understand that there are bi people either.
Have wanted since Deep Space Nine. They pushed for this so hard back in the day, and it wasn't the case. If you look at what happened in the show, Julian Bashir was always in love with Dax, and then ended up getting Ezri. Had multiple heterosexual relationships over the course of the show.
Yeah, he literally just doesn't understand Hey, Phoenix! How you doing? The Owl House? I'm not familiar with it, but I love owls, and I love houses.
Elam Garrick, of course, was with Tora Ziyal, the Cardassian gal, before she ended up getting killed. And so...
so what you're saying is... Wait, so if a man has ever been in a relationship with a woman, that means he couldn't possibly have feelings for a man? Is that how he thinks this works?
They definitely had their paramours, and they were women. And so this is total garbage that is influenced by, like I said, women's erotica fiction by these weirdos.
You see, Phoenix, if you're just getting here, he thinks that women's erotica is, like, all about watching guys have sex with other guys. He thinks that that's what the kind of erotica we like to read, like erotica that preferably doesn't have any women in it.
Those who have taken over mainstream publishing, and this used to be relegated to like bad fan fiction back in the day, and now it's in the actual shows. It's absolutely crazy.
Wait, so what you again? See, he keeps on switching between this is like fan service gone mad. And nobody wants this. And now once again he's saying, yeah, it used to be that the fans would write about this stuff, and take this in these various directions. Oh, yeah, I suppose some women are into that, but I would imagine it's probably more common to be into, like, erotica where there's at least one female character involved in the encounter.
People get hired. And the episode's B plot was this. These guys bicker like they're an old married couple. I mean...
which is a little bit like their relationship on Deep Space Nine.
They make it into, like, the gay... We're going to virtue signal they're gay is the entire plot of the episode. Like, they really push it so hard. And they never do this with a heterosexual...
Wait. I just love that, they really push it so hard. That could be taken in so many ways in this context.
Boimler, the main character, never gets into a relationship like this where he has a deep relationship with a lot of complexity and then some making out sessions.
So, some characters have relationships, other characters don't?
Why? Because they don't care. It's about the agenda, and it's about putting their weird erotic fantasies into this. But I also think there's a secondary reason for it, which is these companies don't know how to write good stories that actually get attention anymore.
See, this guy who we've established, just listening to him for the first 7 minutes, seems to hate every single mainstay of the Star Trek universe. And he's saying that because this other thing that totally fits in with the Star Trek universe that he also hates, that means they can't write good stories. If he doesn't like it, it can't possibly be a good story.
So they court controversy intentionally. So since the season finale is coming up, they do this in the one right before in order to get people's interest in the show, so they get people talking about the show, because nobody cares.
Well, you're talking about it right now. Actually, the Garrick fan group that I'm in on Facebook, they're talking about it. I mean, let's remember that when the Garrick novel, the first-person Garrick novel written by the guy who played Garrick, who was so engrossed in the character, he actually kept a diary in character that he used in order to totally sort of feel his way through the character and his world. And he used that later, just expanded on that to make this novel. It was one of the most, like, the biggest, like, Star Trek novel events that I can remember in fucking years. A coming-of-age show about an Afro-Latina weird girl who travels to a magic realm, becomes an apprentice to a rebellious witch. This sounds a little bit like A Blade So Black. And I'm interested.
About Lower Deck.
Have you heard of it's not a show, it's a series of novels, fantasy novels that are based around the like a sort of darker retelling of Alice in Wonderland, but set in like present day, I think, LA. And with Alice, the protagonist, is a young black woman, and so's the author. Really quite good.
At this point, they've already destroyed the Star Trek brand so much that they needed to get people to talk about it as like a
Wait, so you're saying that this is saving the brand because they've destroyed it so much?
Marketing ploy. And that's the other thing that I think is happening here. So we have bad fan fiction writers who are brought in, who are like intentionally a part of all this, who are really just like into their weird like pornography fiction that they read, like these bad romance novels, and they want to turn everything into that. And there's strange women who have no place writing or being around Star Trek, fake girls, all of them. And then on top...
Wait, so, yeah, if there's any women who have no place being anywhere around any science fiction property, it's geek girls. I mean, what the fuck are geek girls going to be able to contribute to science fiction? Why would geek girls even be interested in it's kind of in the name, isn't it?
Top of it, you have the producers who are like, we need a marketing boost real quick. Let's do something edgy and crazy to try to get some attention real quick.
You know what's edgy and crazy in 2024? People being gay.
Because it's really difficult to get attention in today's market. They can't just do it based on their fiction alone. They can't just do it based on anything good coming out of Star Trek. And so
wait, I mean, it sounds like something good did come out of Star Trek that it was based on. And you're just angry about it.
Do stuff like this. And we've seen it in the comics too. Heather Rantos is running the Star Trek comics line. Same thing. They put out a 500th issue from IDW anniversaries.
I gotta make a quick note of Owl House, because that does sound really good, and I want to make sure I don't forget it.
Special or something. And they had like a triple lusting after Captain Kirk. It was terrible fan fiction.
A triple lusting after Captain Kirk. I mean. I could see that being bad, but I could also see that premise working. Because we don't know anything about the Tribbles' inner world. The Tribbles might have very complex inner worlds. We just don't know anything about them because that's not what we've been shown. I actually, I see potential in that.
Where like it was like dying for Captain Kirk to sit on it. It was disgusting and perverted, and that's exactly what all these weird women are at this point. They need to just not be around Star Trek, Star Wars, or anything like that, is what it comes down to. All right, gosh, this really pisses me off. It does.
I was really hoping he was going to be more performatively angry. He sounds way too level-headed to really sell that he's actually pissed off about this and not just getting paid to pretend.
Now there is one silver lining caveat behind this whole problem this situation here, is that this is an alternate universe and it is a multiverse thing. So they didn't do...
Wait, it's an alternate universe? So that completely... His whole premise in this article that he's been quoting himself from has been that because both Bashir and Garak have had things with women, that means it's totally impossible that they could subsequently decide they have something for each other. But if this is an alternate universe, that doesn't fucking apply.
with the quote mainline Bashir and Garrick.
So what we're saying is, okay, I was gonna say, because I mean Garrick doesn't wear a Starfleet uniform usually, so an alternate universe. Okay, so it's an alternate universe in which this relationship that is always hinted at in Deep Space Nine actually happens. Like, okay, knowing that, this is completely, this is just even more nonsense.
This Garrick's a doctor from another dimension, so he's basically the Bashir of the other dimension. And Bashir is actually an emergency medical hologram. So it gets even weirder. Garrick's not even like having like a relationship with a real person. He's having it like with an AI.
Yeah, you mean like the only women who will date you.
And so it's very much even creepier and weirder and grosser than one would think. But gosh, that's what they did on this sort of level, and this is something you can never unsee out of Star Trek.
Like, some people have been seeing it already, though. That's kind of where this comes from. Hang on, and now... There was a title of a video, and I'm having to scroll up in chat to find it. Yeah, I mean, this sounds great, actually. This makes me want to watch Lower Decks, which I hadn't previously done. Okay. No. Let's see. Okay, we've got that. Oh, it has fucking Piers Morgan in there, too. Hey, Badger, how you doing? We were just watching a new Chud.
I'm called a far left guy, right?
Which you're not. Yeah, we already watched you, Yogi Square. There we go. Here we go. Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Cenk, I mean, many people are saying if you carry on down the road you're going in the last few weeks, you will be a fully fledged member of MAGA before we know it.
Oh, I mean, that sounds about right, actually. And fuck you, Piers Morgan, for making me have to hand it to you on that.
Not like Dave Rubin, a giant sellout fraud.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of like... okay, well, there is a difference, of course. Because Dave Rubin worked for the Young Turfs and then moved over to the right-wing competitor, whereas Cenk and Anna Transphobian, they're going to just move the Young Turks to the far right.
Changed all of his positions.
You mean, yeah, sort of like when Anna Transphobian went from, like, between a space of 11 months, went from saying that pretending to be angry about birthing people and shit was just a bullshit right-wing buzzword. And, you know, that it should not be engaged seriously because it's just bullshit. And then her actually performatively getting outraged about people referring to birthing people.
It's totally useless. And it shouldn't even be on here. It's just a waste of space.
Well, I mean, it is Piers Morgan Uncensored. That describes, like, half of his guests. And Piers Morgan himself.
Piers, it's barely worth responding to this ridiculous buffoon who's the joke of the industry, but...
I mean... Yeah.
That's what us disruptors are doing. He really does want to drain the swamp. And when you begin to drain it, well, all of those creatures...
Oh god, disruptors.
Start showing...
this bullshit.
...their teeth and hissing and wailing and snapping at you. And I think it's time now to drain it once and for all.
Popular wisdom is that politics has never been so bitterly divided. It scratches beneath the surface of our everyday outrage, wash away the red and blue tribal paint, and there's a more interesting picture. President Trump has demolished the traditional divide of right and left.
No, he hasn't.
Classic liberal believes in free speech, free markets, and the freedom of individuals under the rule of law.
Free markets? I mean, Trump's big thing has been tariffs. That's a lot of things, but it's not free market.
Classic lefty is anti-war and highly suspicious of institutions. They support homegrown manufacturing jobs and the working class. Above all, they're very good at selling a vision of how things could be better for everyone, right? Now, that all sounds a lot like, well, MAGA. Voters.
No, it doesn't actually sound anything like MAGA. Especially the bit about working class, because the thing about MAGA Judge is they are overwhelmingly, disproportionately on the comfortable side of the capitalist proletarian divide.
I agree. Black voters, Latino voters, young voters, working class voters, those with no college degree have all flocked to the big red tent.
No, they haven't. This is just complete bullshit. That is not what happened. What actually happened is that the people he just listed stayed home. They didn't vote for this jabroni because most people didn't vote for him.
Even First Lady Jill Biden now appears to love Trump and loathe Harris.
Oh, well, I mean, actually, the thing is the Democrats and Trump have been getting on. I mean, they have a long fucking relationship. You can find, it is like trivial to find top Democrats over the years rubbing elbows with Donald Trump because they suck up to all the rich people.
Much as anybody. But the big problem with big tents is that the people who've been inside them for the longest are highly suspicious of newcomers. In a moment we'll debate this and more.
Well, I mean, I'm suspicious of anyone who's in the fucking tent, so I can understand people being suspicious of anyone who joins the tent.
Star panel, all of whom have copped a public backlash for shifting their positions. But I'll begin with the OG of the political trans movement, Dave Rubin.
The political trans movement. Oh, fuck off. I mean, except that I feel like Dave Rubin is transphobic enough that he will actually feel a little bit insulted of being described that way, and I mean, in the sense that it might hurt Dave Rubin's feelings, I'm kind of cool with it, but yeah, fuck off otherwise.
Rubin report wants to respond to my recent interview with his former colleague Anna Gasparian. Well, Dave, great to have you on Uncensored. So look, we had Anna on. Very interesting pivot that she's been making in the last few months.
Not the last few months. I mean, she's been telegraphing it for much longer than that.
But obviously you and her have a bit
I mean, it's been the most thoroughly choreographed affair. I mean, when she first did the birthing people thing, and a bunch of people who had long-standing relationships with TYT said, you know, it tried to, like, just, you know, politely educate her and say, no, this is actually a right-wing talking point. What are you doing here? And we're just generally quite nice about it. She deleted that tweet and then said it again in hopes that somebody would say something that she could use to say that she was being set upon by the woke mob and stuff, and it still didn't happen. I mean, this whole thing has been choreographed months in advance.
History, and in the interest of fair-minded balance, this is your chance to say what you want to say by way of response to it.
Fair-minded balance. I mean, we have a panel that is made up of, like, reactionaries and other reactionaries. Where's the balance?
Sure, you know, funny, I enjoyed your intro there. I guess I did sort of get on the trans thing early. It just wasn't
no, you fuck you.
It just wasn't about my genitals.
I don't need to hear about your fucking genitals.
You're absolutely right. What Donald Trump represents, and then I will address the Anna situation, but what Donald Trump represents right now is something that is well beyond conservative versus liberal or left.
Yes, it's just fascism.
Versus right or anything.
I mean, I love this shit. I mean, because whenever you hear somebody saying neither left nor right, you can be, say, 98% certain that that person is fash.
It's a restoration.
It's a third position.
of the American dream. It is a wide tent party that has now brought in classical liberals, not only like myself, but Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, who will be in the administration itself, or someone like Elon Musk, who was basically a default lefty his entire life.
No, he wasn't.
And it has brought them in conversation and in government and in culture with Republicans who tend to be more for the old institutions and...
Well, yes, because all you're trying to do is, like, be the louder reactionaries, the louder defenders of capital. What unites you all is that you're a bunch of grifters who either are capitalists or are completely sucking up to them. And you've decided that this is the party to defend capital, which is funny because most of capital disagrees. They feel that sort of a diazepam like Harris or Biden is a safer bet.
Capitalism, things of that nature. This has created a pro-America movement that I think almost everyone in America can get on board. Now,
which is funny because almost no one in the U.S. actually is on board.
It pertains to Anna. Yes, I was part of the Young Turks Network about a decade ago. We were very, very good friends. She was invited to my wedding. We hung out all the time.
I mean, that is a strike against Anna-transphobian.
Did see her on your show about 2 weeks ago.
Well, for those who did, let me stop you there, because for those who didn't, I want to play two clips. One, this is for those who may be coming cold to this. One is a sort of mashup of some of the things she said about you before. Then I'm going to play...
Yeah, okay, this is going to be funny because now we're going to just see how full of shit Anna-transphobian is.
Clip of what she said on this show 2 weeks ago. So let's watch the two things.
I mean, and I really hate that the one person who isn't being discredited by all of this is Piers Morgan.
He was lazy when he worked here. He's lazy now with his ridiculous show where he proves time and time again that he doesn't know anything.
I mean, yeah, she's not wrong.
He has no political identity. He is not an honest actor. He is not an intellectual. He is a fraud. But if you are someone who considers yourself libertarian, consider the fact that Dave Rubin is a public figure who represents you, and he...
Well, I mean, he's, I have to say, possibly one of the less embarrassing libertarians.
Doesn't actually genuinely believe in your ideology.
No, none of them do. None of them do. If they believed in their idea, if they were serious about it, if they were genuinely serious about all the things they claimed to be for, they would avoid fascists like the plague. And yet, you mostly find them in the company of neo-Nazis. Because the one thing that actually, I mean, the so-called, the fake the appropriation of the term libertarian, which in this traditionally meant an anarcho-communist. But, the appropriated meaning, it was largely founded by people who didn't like the civil rights movement.
And he's going around the country embarrassing you. You need to...
They're incapable of embarrassment, though. Have you looked at the Libertarian Party anytime recently? Have you listened to them? If these motherfuckers were capable of embarrassment, like, a hole would have opened up in the Earth's crust and swallowed them a long time ago.
Know your shit and know how to back up your argument. Even if it's like a BS argument, you need to have an argument. Yeah. And he doesn't even do the legwork to be a grifter, right?
Yeah, I mean, all true. I mean, and I love, this is very embarrassing for her. Because she's not wrong about any of these things, and the only thing that has changed is that they've worked out that there is money. And the thing is, see, when I'd first heard Anna-transphobian making these moves in the direction of just being openly anti-trans and stuff like that, I was thinking, this sounds like probably some kind of bellwether for where the Democrats are going. Because fundamentally, TYT are nothing if not loyal Democrats. And I didn't really say that very loudly because I wasn't sure just how far I was leading myself out the window with that. But it certainly it turns out to have worked out pretty well, because that is exactly the direction that they've been moving. So, and that's where the money is, clearly.
Look, I don't know. Maybe I was wrong about Dave Rubin, but I just felt that he, first of all, after he left TYT, he...
See, I said that he was too lazy to be a grifter, but I meant it in an endearing way.
did lie about us, and that bothered me because we were still friends, and I didn't understand what was going on.
Like, okay, that's even more embarrassing. She just admitted to having been friends with Dave Rubin. That's the sort of thing people pay money to actually get kept secret.
He did leave on good terms, so it was weird. And, you know, he kept saying that he was this classical liberal, but had trouble defining what that meant.
Well, that's not exactly... Are you surprised by this? Every single person I've met who calls themselves a classical liberal has trouble defining what that means.
And had trouble reinforcing or at least backing up some of the claims that he was making about you know, his newfound identity.
So, Dave, there we have it in all its inglorious fashion.
Well, I mean...
The dig she had at you, then what she said on my...
Yeah, she is basically a female Dave Rubin, except she followed the smart money.
She herself...
She kept her job.
Was pivoting. What's your response?
Well, first off, I should note you don't have 10 years of videos of me saying anything about her, because we did leave on good terms.
Well, I'm actually kind of curious if that's true. I have a feeling that's probably not true, but I also have a feeling that Piers Morgan is dishonest enough that if such a video was available, he would withhold it.
Matter of fact, when I told her I was leaving, we went to Zinc on Melrose. I took her out for sangria, and she cried because I was leaving.
Okay, that is terribly embarrassing for her.
And
I'm loving this. We're getting all sorts of like adverse information about anatransphobia.
Producer with me. But putting that aside for a moment, if I can't explain any of my ideas, well, somehow this became a New York Times bestseller where I lay out all my classically liberal beliefs, and I've discussed them with you many times. And I believe in laissez-faire economics, and I believe in individual rights and all.
Well, yes, except that does not it's interesting how that does not actually apply when we get to say any individual other than people like you.
But what I would say, I think she's a little confused and perhaps was lied to by her employers about some of my behaviors or something.
Well, like, this is I mean, wait. So he's saying that she wasn't capable of forming an opinion of him on her own, having worked alongside him, and him being a public figure whose videos and, like, fucking streams and shit, public appearances she could watch? Wow, I mean, that is like the most condescending thing he could possibly have said about her. And I really just, could we like have a cutaway to her, because I feel like if she has any self-respect at all, she's going to be like fucking turning red and wanting to sink into the earth.
Like that.
That's like the most insulting way you could possibly make excuses for her, because it suggests she's incapable of thinking for herself.
Love the idea of anyone going through their own political evolution. You know, one of the things is that people go through it often in varying speeds. So I always say some people swallow the red pill and some people snort it, right? Some people just wake up over...
Like, you do realize that's a trans allegory, Dave, that you're talking about. The red pill is estrogen.
Overnight, and they fully see it. I think one of the things that you have to do when you wake up is...
I mean, like, your fucking political movement you're part of is trying to ban the red pill, at least for a lot of people.
Realize that many people have gone through this before you, and that you might have wronged some people on the way there. So I was very glad to hear her say that she might have been wrong about Dave Rubin. Look, all it takes on...
Why are you talking about yourself in the third person?
Honestly, like, I know you know this, Piers. You've been in this game longer than me. You know,
the grifting game, the being too lazy to be a good grifter game.
Any apologies in this business, and I don't like making things really about myself in that sense.
Yeah, right.
But genuinely, if there was a mea culpa there, or just a simple apology, maybe I didn't see things so right about you, Dave, or whatever, I would gladly welcome anyone.
Yeah, except the thing is, we all know actually what she said because it's true. The difference is she's realized that this is a grift she wants to get in on, and Cenk is going along with it too, because somebody crunched the numbers and said that there was a lot of money to be had doing the far right thing, especially since the Democrats have decided that they want to join the competition of like who can suck off the most Nazis.
And I don't mean to make this about her. If you're waking up to the ideas of liberty and limited government, especially post-COVID, and seeing what this ridiculous Democratic Party has become.
Limited government. So explain how that fits in with the fucking tariffs and the internet censorship. Like, his whole book was like, this is when the far right were like pretending that they were just free speech warriors and free speech. That's why it's called Don't Burn This Book. Like, okay, so his people are banning books now, like, just left and right, all over the place. There's a bipartisan internet censorship bill. Well, two of them, actually, because there's the TikTok ban, and you have COSA, which gives state governors the power to censor anything off the internet they want, if they say it's harmful to youth, which... if there were an actual journalist involved anywhere in this process, that's a question that would be put to Dave Rubin right now. But it's Piers Morgan, so no.
And you want to agree to disagree and dive into the ideas and have that battle, I will do that with absolutely anybody. So look, an apology probably, I would say, would be warranted, but I don't sit there...
but it isn't. It really isn't.
And wait for it. And I think there are much bigger forces at play here than just the interpersonal battle of two people.
Out of interest, I mean, if I could make it happen, would you debate her?
Yes.
Uncensored?
Yeah, 100. I said that on my show after we played that clip.
He wants government to be limited to repressing the working class and harassing and terrorizing ethnic and sexual and gender minorities.
I'd be happy to do it with her live, just the two of us in studio. If you want to be the host or moderator, I'll do it under any condition, because again...
Oh, what, any condition? So, like, how about, I mean, I'm just spitballing here. Because if you say in any condition, I got this idea where he debates anti-transphobian with Piers Morgan as the moderator, while I hit both of them with a cricket bat. I think that falls under any condition. I think that would be great television, too. I think it would be great for sweeps.
I think there's something, I think it now represents...
I mean, it's just so slimy. The whole thing is so slimy. Because it's just a reminder that none of these... It's just a club. None of these motherfuckers seriously mean it. It's like when you see, like, Chuck Schumer and fucking Donald Trump, like, hugging in the Capitol building. And, like, all the parties where you'll see photos of, like, the Clintons and Trump hobnobbing and stuff. None of these motherfuckers... I mean, they will pretend, they will play fight like it's the fucking WWE, but like less exciting and less choreography. But they clearly don't mean any of it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, of course, Rubin's lot pretended COVID never happened in the first place. And that was another thing that, like, fucking liberals like Transphobian and junk also belatedly came to. Pretending that COVID isn't a thing. I mean, if you actually look at the available figures, these days, because there's no actual case detection going on in the US, the CDC stopped counting because it was getting embarrassing. If you look at the troughs, the bits in between the spikes, at the lowest points in the past couple of years, it is roughly on a level with the highest points of 2020-2021. And we're supposed to forget that at one point Fauci said, you know, we can put COVID behind us when we get down below 10,000 new cases a day. I think that was actually, I mean, that was really too many new cases a day to actually, for comfort, but it was a realistic goal, certainly, because other countries have managed to get it down at times to 0 new cases a day through fairly basic public health measures. And so, like, we're supposed to just kind of forget that because we haven't been anywhere. We have been so far above 10,000 new cases a day for the past couple of years, and we're supposed to pretend nothing's happening.
Thing that could be unbelievably good for America.
Yeah.
Progressives who have called everybody racist. And
well, I mean, they've called racists racist.
bigots and impugn motives. I mean, people just watched that compilation right there.
Well, yeah, but your motives are suspect. You're a fucking white supremacist grifter.
Always going after people in the worst...
It's just that anatransphobia is, too.
...nature. If you've now woke up, and from what I understand, I've seen some of her tweets...
Wait, did he just say that being a reactionary makes you woke now?
She's now being attacked the same way she attacked me. So I would say much...
Well, yeah, because she's doing the same bullshit. She's on the same bullshit you're on. So yeah, she's getting criticized from the same people.
Like Bruce Willis said in...
God, that would drive me out of my mind. I would just be like... I would have trouble stopping myself from just physically installing masks on people.
Die Hard, welcome to the party, pal, but we can be on the same side.
Yeah, because none of us have any real principles.
Even if we still have political disagreements, okay?
Except the point is they don't...
We don't agree on the marginal tax rate or the immigration rates or something like that. If you love America, if you think this place is fundamentally good, if we still have a country that will offer more opportunity for any other place...
Well, like, what the fuck does that even mean?
You want to be part of that? Yes, whatever the circumstances...
That was a thing ever since... Fuck it, even before this, but Newt Gingrich published this list of positive governing words that politicians should use, and that his politicians used all the time in the 90s. And one of them was opportunity. They would throw it on all sorts of things, the opportunity society or whatever. And then fucking Harris, Kamala, goes and starts talking about the meaningless crap about the opportunity economy, whatever the fuck that is. I mean, it is just so... God, shut the fuck up.
Either is or isn't, I'd be happy to do it, but if it's you, that would be great.
You know, what's really interesting about what you just said, I totally agree with you, by the way. If you look at Trump's picks for his cabinet, for example, they are so diverse.
No, they aren't. Yeah, I mean, they're fash.
Right across the board. I mean,
you've got neo-Nazis, you've got Hungarian fascists. Gorka is back, the guy who is a member of a neo-Nazi group. He's proud of it. He wears their membership pin and everything. Vitezi Rand. You've got the big ass Islamophobe and queerphobe fucking Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, it's like all kinds of shit.
all got together, they'd be arguing.
But it's all shit.
Stuff, which I'm all in favour of. This kind of rigid ideology where you have to all sign up to one viewpoint about
like, for example, that trans people should be allowed to live and that Nazis are bad.
everything. Yeah, there'll be people in there that completely disagree with RFK, for example, about some of his views. Good.
You mean like his view that COVID is a Jewish conspiracy? Like that view?
Have that debate. Have that debate.
Oh, God. Yeah, let's have the debate over whether COVID is a Jewish conspiracy. That's a great debate to be having. Like, that's totally not the sort of debate that suggests that you would begin a movie with if you were trying to say that something was deeply wrong in the society the movie's about.
This is what democracy is supposed to be built on.
Yeah, debates over whether COVID is just a non-issue that people should just get back to work, or whether it's a Jewish conspiracy. Like, whether polio's a good thing. These are great debates. It's wonderful that we're gonna have these fucking debates.
Of course, this is the beauty of what Trump is doing right now, and really you can connect that so deeply.
Oh, that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Go back on YouTube. You can find Donald Trump on Phil Donahue or Oprah or a whole bunch of these shows back in the 80s, and he sounds like a Democrat. Yeah. So Donald...
Yeah, well, yeah, because money doesn't stink to anyone in the political class.
Trump is not a traditional conservative. I would actually argue that Donald Donald Trump's own political evolution probably, Piers, is much more in line with guys like you and me.
Yeah, well, yes, in the sense that it's fundamentally opportunist. He realized that there was a grift to be had by going hard to the far right. Although, I mean, acting like he was all that far from that position in the 80s is kind of bullshit. Because, I mean, you remember the exonerated five, the 5 young black guys who got completely stitched up in the Central Park jogger case, and he took out an ad calling for them to be executed. Like, he's actually, yeah, he's been a piece of shit all along, actually.
Yeah.
And yes, it's true that he was a piece of shit who said stuff like that and was on very good terms and still is on very good terms with top Democrats.
Than, say, George Bush or Dick Cheney or someone that might, you think of as a sort of standard bearer for Republicanism. So the fact that he is now...
Or like a war criminal, for example.
Gonna bring in,
but those things come together quite
people who quite literally were running against him for president only 6 months ago, RFK Jr., and someone who ran against him for president on the other side, Tulsi.
Like, not... I mean, yeah, she ran against him in the most, like, theoretical way.
Only 4 years ago. That shows you what's bringing them together. What's bringing them
what's bringing them together is that they're a bunch of horrible shits.
Together is a love for America.
Aw, hello, cat.
We have been on the precipice of giving away the most precious, beautiful experiment in human history on how to free people.
Giving it away to what? Giving it away to whom? Let's answer that question that Piers is not going to ask you.
Ever. And I think Donald Trump actually now sees that. I also
like Dave Rubin. Your name is Rubin. Do you at all get at all nervous about the fact that you're surrounded by the most proudly anti-Semitic motherfuckers that have been in U.S. politics since, like, the German-American Bund? Does that make you at all nervous that these are the guys you're working with? Like, I mean, what a fucking capo.
I think that post-assassination attempt, I think he has a renewed fervor and sort of realization of what his role in life is. And that's the opportunity that, again, not to make this about Anna specifically.
His role in life is to collect money off of Han Solo and sexually harass Princess Leia.
But anyone that's going through a wake-up, we know so many people have woken up. I mean, look, for me, I think it was 2016, I did that Why I Left the Left video.
Yeah, too. Isn't that so funny that it just happens at a time when this was an obvious grift that you could make a lot of money off of? That is such a convenient time to do it. I mean, it's worth noting, see, because this sort of convenient jumping of ship is sort of a traditional thing. The Nazis actually, when they actually took over, they imposed a freeze on new members for a year. Specifically because they knew that when they were in power, that suddenly everybody who was going to want to join them, because there would be some sort of professional or commercial or economic advantage to doing it. And so they wanted to avoid any kind of, like, opportunists who weren't going to be fully loyal to them. So they said, no, we're not going to allow them in for a year. And then, actually, I know somebody whose father, like, during the freeze tried to join, and then the freeze ended, and he was pressured to join, and then at that point he refused to join, because he, apparently his only real value was apparently being just fucking contrarian. And so, but yeah. But here, they're just happy to have the opportunists. They're not even, like, they don't give a shit. It's like, money is the only thing that is binding any of this. That is the glue.
For PragerU. You want everyone to get there the day you do, but you have to be gracious when people come around one way or another.
Yeah, well, let's bring in...
And it helps when you have absolutely no principles.
For the panel members, because some of them are definitely going on a very interesting journey.
Oh, yeah.
A new MAGA enthusiast, Cenk Dave, I said that deliberately to wind him up. Host and founder of the Young Turks, Libertarian Dave Smith, host of Part of the Problem, Lindy Lee, the DNC Finance Committee member and advisor, and former woke activist turned YouTuber, and Marla Ekpunobi.
Oh yeah, I mean, she does a grift on PragerU. And the thing about this former woke activist stuff, when I first started seeing her stuff on PragerU, I decided to look her up. because I wanted to know, whenever I hear somebody on the, like, the far right saying that they used to be, like, this far left activist and stuff, I want to see what their fucking paper trail looks like. What's their online trail? Because if you know, if you're any kind of activist, in this century, there will generally be at least some record of it, you know, some online trace, forum post, something, you know, Facebook post or whatever, because that's just how, you know, a lot of activism works. And nothing. Like, she's a fucking blank slate. Because she seems to have gone over to the far right when she was like 21.
Welcome to all of you. Cenk, I mean, many people are saying if you carry on down the road you're going in the last few weeks, you will be a fully fledged member of MAGA before we know it.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, if somebody cuts that check, he will do it.
Yeah, there's absolutely no chance of that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Never say never. I give it a year.
I'm not like Dave Rubin, a giant sellout fraud.
What?
Wait, okay, so Dave Rubin is a giant sellout fraud. So what does that make Anna Transphobian, who you still employ?
He changed all of his positions and is totally useless, and it shouldn't even be on here. It's just a waste of space.
Wow.
Okay, well, give the kitten my love.
Really? After all Dave said about coming together?
Yeah, I don't want to see these people coming together.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've not got no interest in coming together with utter frauds like Dave Rubin.
Wait, but you literally work together with Anna Transphobian. Like, how the make it make sense, Cenk. Make it fucking make sense.
So, brother, you telling me that when you were on the Young Turks, you were Mr. Progressive and you agreed with us 100%. Now, all of a sudden, you agree with Trump 100%?
Yeah, well, yes, that's because you were signing his checks then. Now, fucking the Koch brothers are signing his checks, or one of those motherfuckers.
We're not saying something nuanced like we are. Hey, you know, when the guy gets shot at and he puts his fist up, that's courageous. When he does
no, it isn't.
McDonald's photo op, it works fine, no problem, right?
What do you mean it worked fine? It was just out, like, why is that no problem? I mean, it was just yeah, I mean, that was just such condescending, and it was so fucking insulting to, like, everybody, because it was obviously fucking choreographed.
If he wants to cut the Pentagon, great. Those are progressive positions. Anti-corruption.
Wait a second. Pretending to work at McDonald's is a progressive position? I mean, yeah, cutting the Pentagon would be good. I don't buy it for a second that that's coming from him. That's never happened.
Progressive position. Anti-war, progressive position.
He's not anti-war, though.
But you changed...
Like, I mean, motherfucker, were you born yesterday? He's never been anti-war. Especially, like, the current wars? Like, the genocide, plus the war against Yemen, plus the war against Lebanon, the little war against Syria on the side, as a treat. Like, he's a fan of those wars.
All of your ideology overnight, and you expect us to believe that that's real? I don't think it's real at all.
Yeah, see, I see why he's pissed off. Because Anna Transphobian he did it the right way. They set out some bait. They sort of foreshadowed it for several months, and then did the big reveal later. There was a slow burn. It was, you know, the pageantry was there. The showmanship was there. It was well thought out. Whereas Dave Rubin just kind of gave the game away by just changing his views the minute the signature on his paychecks changed.
And I want an apology from you for all the crazy, outrageous lies that you told about the Young Turks. When is that going to happen, huh? Wow. When are you going to admit that you changed all your positions for money, okay? Well,
what the fuck do you think you're doing?
What position do you still have that's in any way a so-called classic liberal, you fraud?
I mean, I really, he's not wrong there. But at the same time, it's like, you really have no room to talk, Cenk, because you're doing the exact same shit.
Hey?
Piers, it's barely worth responding to this ridiculous buffoon who's the joke of the industry, but I will say this.
Oh, well, that wasn't a response at all. That's cute. That's very cute. That is what's called a non-denial denial.
I haven't spoken to you in 10 years. I haven't spoken to you in 10 years.
Well, I mean, that's probably true. Because the thing is, there's this whole bullshit idea that the right wing is so unified, and why can't we be more so unified like them? They hate each other. They are at each other's throats. Behind the scenes all the time, and sometimes it boils over onto the surface, like with fucking Steven Crowder when he turned down that Daily Wire deal. Turned down a $50 million deal for a man with no talent, with no redeeming qualities, on a network that is made for people like that. I mean, and suddenly they were just at each other's throats publicly, and all sorts of stuff came out about the amount of money that's just getting thrown in all directions. Like, so I don't doubt it for a second. I mean, and not only that, I mean, he is gay, and a lot of the people he works with would like to see him dead for that, and the other half would like to see him dead for the fact that he's Jewish.
I think he's a fraud or a joke. I think Dave Rubin is, for what it's worth, I think Dave Rubin is one of the most influential and significant voices out there right now.
That is not actually, wait, he said that does not make him not a fraud, though, Piers. That is not an answer to the charge of being a fraud. But of course, I mean, Piers Morgan, like, vouching for somebody not being a fraud would be a bit much, because Piers Morgan is one.
I know. And I admire his honesty about the journey he's been on, Cenk.
Piers, I appreciate that, but you know, the thing is, what Cenk just proved is exactly what everyone in America, and I would say all over the world, is getting over. Nobody wants what he just offered up there. Not only does no one believe it, and he had it pre-packaged.
Wait, what do you mean nobody believes it? I think look, yeah, Cenk is full of shit because he's doing the exact same shit. Transphobian is doing the exact same shit. He is totally insincere. This is totally dishonest what he's doing. I mean, it is fake outrage. But, yeah, I don't think that most people would disagree because, see, the amount of money that gets pumped into these right-wing outlets allows them to appear to be much bigger and much more popular than they are. Because they get so heavily boosted by the algorithms on just about every platform that you would think that must mean that they're huge, and they're not really.
And ready to go, and it's complete dribble.
But what's huge is the money.
Sold out. Like, it's so nonsensical. Again, Cenk, I'll gladly send you a signed copy of the book, and you can read all of my thoughts. And if you're
wow, all of his thoughts are in that book. The book came out like nearly a decade ago, so he has not had a single thought since he wrote it.
Anti-corruption and you're anti-war, you should be on the Trump train.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, nothing says anti-corruption like a billionaire putting his fucking cronies and family members in charge of things. Yeah, I mean, anti-corruption, my ass.
Your endless hatred, the division that you sow, calling everyone racist and white supremacists, all of that stuff.
Well, I mean, there are racists and white supremacists, and they sign your checks, Dave. Why should we not point that out?
It's why you're not respected. But I don't mean to get into the personal side of that. I'm talking about now something.
Oh, yeah, he's not getting personal. That is such a move there. Yeah, you're complete. Everybody says you're a fucking clown, but I'm not going to get personal here. Nobody respects you, but I'm not going to get personal here. Okay, but it is time for me to wrap up for tonight. Thank you for the recommendation, Giga M. It turns out to have been, I would say, a good one, a very long one, so maybe we may come back to it tomorrow. I don't know. But Thank you for everyone who joined. I hope you enjoyed this stream. And if you enjoyed the stream, please consider supporting the Inessa Armand Translation Project. Because that, I mean, in addition to helping to expand the Marxist canon by translating some stuff translating the works of Inessa Armand, who was suppressed by Stalin and never translated into English, is also just a big lifeline for me. So I very much appreciate the support of anyone who can and feels like doing it, and I understand that a lot of people can't because things suck. So have a good evening, have a good rest of your night, and see you tomorrow at 11:30 U.S. Eastern Time to see who's on their bullshit next. Bye, Badger. Good night, River Root.